in to Athletics LLC with Lamar, Lucius, Big League Chew, and my man Clyde, and the governor. You're about to be schooled in all things track and field. This is experience. Yes, sir. We are talking past, present, future. Y'all listen up. Let's go.
Hello there, peoples. Convention hangover basically gone. I think, not that we didn't sleep a lot, but I definitely am back on to a schedule per se. But welcome one, welcome all. Thanks for joining us again after our live episode last week. Lamar, the Elf Huffins, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I am great. I cannot believe it is 4 days from Christmas, but other than that, I'm great.
Awesome. Governor, how are you?
Cold.
Yes.
The heat was turned off about 10 minutes ago. as per instructions. So, you know, once I get under the covers, I'll be great.
Bundle up time.
It'll be the best sleep ever. But yeah, just getting prepared for asterisk snowmageddon or weathermageddon asterisk, you know, next couple days. So we'll see.
Hashtag Texas.
I'll pray for you tomorrow, because tomorrow the low is 10. So.
I know.
At least you still got the 40.
We top out at about 65, and then we go down to 12.
Oh,
It's I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be a hell of a roller coaster.
Yeah, these next couple of days are going to test the mettle of the Texans.
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh. So Lucius, how's the 72 Gainesville doing for you?
You know, we only got up to about 59 today.
Oh
like
my gosh.
60 something maybe.
I
But it was
feel
overcast,
horrible.
gloomy. It wasn't a typical palm tree kind of day.
Yes,
You know,
you had the
we
bubble
survived.
jackets on, right? The bubble jackets came
No,
out.
I didn't, but I actually got fussed at by one of my athletes as I walked outside with a little jacket on.
Whoa.
Like, coach, get back inside. I'm like, it's not that cold. He goes, get back inside and get a real jacket on. I'm like, yes, sir. So
Okay.
Joseph Fomble thinks he's my father sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, he
Oh
would
my
know what
God.
cold is. I mean, that dude's from
Yep.
Yes, he
Minnesota.
would. Exactly.
Oh, Clyde, how are you today, sir?
I mean, you know, see the sky behind me. That's a photo, but that's basically what the sky looks like in California in the winter.
Oh,
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
I don't see any dollar signs up there because it's also hell of expensive. So
Holla at us about how much that grid shutdown is going to cost.
you know what? We'll be all right.
You know, the convention was great. T and Kai are home, so all is good on the West Coast. And I just want to shout out to everybody who participated, jumped in the first annual LLC Spades tournament. The winners, of course, TJ Harris and wow,
Marcus Brown.
Marcus Brown. They chose not to take on the throne, which is probably a good idea on their part. They got their 800 and walked away. Smart men.
I mean, that's what I would have done.
And we'll do it again next year.
Yes, it will be on. It'll be on. We will definitely put it on the docket. The second annual Athletics LLC Spades tournament. We may have to get Sir Lucius to join some of the festivities.
Absolutely.
Look at the smirk on his face already.
That means the Spades tournament is starting at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Sir Lucius enjoyed Denver much like Sir Lucius enjoyed the hole in the head. I could tell that just
So for the record,
He has family there.
I really enjoyed my time with my in-laws. I did.
Okay, right.
Some of the other foolishness and tomfoolery that goes on there, I will pass every single time.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. I got invited to go ski and I laughed.
Right.
I was
a few times that happened to me.
What are we doing?
You want me to go where? Do what? I'm good.
Well,
Not
Buckle up, buttercups, because it's back there next year. So
Yeah.
get ready now.
I will be officiating the Spades tournament again inside.
All right. Well, speaking of the convention, of course, what we all wait for every year and build up to is the Bowerman Awards. And simply put, did they get it right? Men's side, we had Trey Cunningham won for the men. And on the women's side, we had Abby Steiner win. What do we think?
No, on the men's side, I think this is just my opinion. I'm not saying Trey shouldn't have won, but I don't think people really understand what Aiden Owens Delarme did, right? I don't think people give enough credit to the multis. So I want to give a shout out to Aiden and his coaches because of the phenomenal seasons he had. But I mean, I don't think you go wrong with either one of them. And Trey was undefeated. He's number 2, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And yeah, he did. He had a phenomenal season. So I don't think you can discount what Trey did. I don't think that anybody should, in my opinion, should stand up and be screaming because he won the award. On the women's side, if you watch the videos as they present them, and every video you watch, you're like, how does she not win, right? And then the next one, how does she not win? And how does she not win? And I mean, I think it's the same thing. And then on another controversial topic, there was 1 or 2 people who could have been on the stage as well, right? That how did she not win? And so I think with the women, it was a lot tougher. It's hard to go against a young lady that did what Abby did. And I'm just going to give a shout out to I lost her name, just Cameron Rogers. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's like it was one thing to talk about it, and then it was another thing to see it in writing. And then you watch the video and you're just like, oh my God, right? Like the top 7 of the top 10 throws in history in one season. And it's just incredible. And so, I mean, the women's was just tougher. And no matter who you pick, there's going to be 2 other people who people thought should win. You look at what, obviously I'm a little biased towards Anna. And again, I'm going to say this to people out there. Somebody really needs to take a good hard look at when multi-event people do special things, because they're doing 7 or 10 events. They're not doing one event. They're doing 7 that is counted as one. So, and I don't say that because of Anna. I say that because of Aiden. I say it because of the Lyndon Victors and people like that of the past that did it well. And I'm not saying that Anna should have won or that Aiden should have won. I just don't think that the multi-eventers get the credit that they deserve. But hey, I don't know how you go wrong with Abby or Trey, both phenomenal young people who have absolutely incredible seasons, represented themselves, their families, and their universities very well.
If I may go next, I'm just going to say a few things and I'll probably set up my colleagues here for the axe hammer that I'm sure they want to drop on whatever I'm about to say. Okay. The only thing that I am for sure that the Bowerman got right is that John Anderson needs to be there every year, and I don't give a damn how they make it happen. Pay him, do something, because I can't imagine anyone else hosting that event. He's always phenomenal. And even this, and his jokes were so perfectly petty and accurate, from us being in Denver to the whole thing. If you were there, you understand. He was phenomenal. The women, and I mean this with all due respect, because as he pointed out, all of those people are world-class elite human beings. They are all deserving of being on that stage. Jasmine Moore should have been on the stage, and you can't argue and say this person wasn't good enough to win, because they're all good enough to win. But no, they didn't get that right. Cameron Rogers should have won that award. It's a NCAA year award, and no one has ever or will ever dominate their competition or the NCAA the way Cameron Rogers just did. You'll never see it again. You just won't. And because the throws and the full field events are often outshined by more glamorous things, that would have been the perfect time to get it right. And I don't think they got that one right. Like, understanding what that woman did, even John Anderson made reference to it in his speeches along the way. It was the most dominant season ever. And again, her mark is like number 6 or 7 all time in the event, not in the NCAA, in the world. So I don't think they got that one right. I think Trey over Aiden Owens was correct. I won't split that hair. Props to both of them. And something that we touched on, the last thing I wanted to throw out there is, if you watch the live show, in real time, Chu got to read a statement that we didn't read in full. I've since read the statement in full. And as it pertains to the Bowerman, I want to say this. If it is true that the Bowerman committee or the alphabet crew or whatever asked Randolph Ross to carry their water and not showing up, that is dead wrong. It's not his responsibility to carry your water. If that happened, that's a cowardly act by the alphabet crew or the Bowerman committee. However, he shouldn't have been there, and rightfully so that he wasn't. But don't ask him to carry your water for you. That's cowardly. And that's my thoughts on the Bowerman.
You know what? I'm gonna jump in there because I think everybody's expecting me to go last and be some gigantic hammer. I can be a hammer from third.
No pun intended.
Absolutely.
Right.
Look, I'm going to start by stating the obvious, and I'll be as brief as possible. 1, those who know me know I went to Cal. So clearly anything I say about a Cal athlete is going to be in some way, shape, or form jaded because that is my school. Got it. 2, I'm a field eventer, and in particular combined eventer. So clearly anything I say about field events or combined events, or in this case both, are also going to be jaded. Got it. But 3, and I think these are the big ones. I am a humongous fan of Abby Steiner. Humongous. I am ridiculously impressed by what Trey did.
No, not the freeze. See, the grid has already started.
Is Chu frozen too?
Deserves.
Chu, there you are.
You got to back that up because the grid started to get you already.
All right.
You're a tremendous,
That's
you're a huge
so
fan of Abby
funny.
Steiner.
Can we just walk across the street this time and not go around the block?
Okay, are you done? Anyway, long story short is this. Like, look, I'm a huge fan of everybody who was on the dais, and you know, Trey will never unfortunately get his due because he has a bad birthday. Like, I mean, Grant set bars that are just pretty much darn near impossible to get to. Someday maybe, but whatever. I think on the men's side, you could have flipped a coin. I could make a very strong argument for Aiden. I could make the equally strong, maybe even stronger argument for Trey. I had no issue with it. On the women's side, you could have picked any one of 4 people and made a strong argument for it. And yes, I said 4, and I'm never getting off. I'm gonna die on that hill, just so we're clear. I'm going to die on that hill. Jasmine Moore should have been there, and I'm gonna die on that hill. But all of that notwithstanding, I'll just say this. John Anderson is unbiased for the most part. I think we all pretty much agree. He might be a slight SEC homer only because he knows those people more, because he covers that meet. I don't think he is, but if you're going to accuse him of anything, you could accuse him of that. And with that being said, he said during the Bowerman that Cam Rogers had the best collegiate season in any event by anyone.
Ever. Don't forget that word, ever.
Look, ever. I was pausing for effect. So I say this. If that is true, and I think we all kind of agree with John, like when he says things, right? He doesn't usually say things that we feel are controversial or wrong, but if that is true, then there can only be one winner of this year's Bowerman, right? Like when you have 11 of the top 10 marks, yep, I said 11. When you have 11 of the top 10 marks in collegiate history in any event, and you had
Yeah, I
seven
want
of them.
first of all, you gotta rephrase that. It's the top 11 marks in collegiate.
No,
not
I said it
top
the way
10.
I wanted to say it
Yeah,
because I want people to be paying attention.
You just
That's
told
it.
everybody you went to Cal. So
Yep, I did. So y'all figure it out. It's like quantum physics. The point is really simple, right? Like when you own everything that they only keep record books publicly for the top 10, right? If you own, when they like the best throws ever in collegiate history are by Cameron Rogers. And 7 of them happened this year. Like it's just no matter what you do, no matter how good anybody else's season was, like Cameron Rogers not winning it just kind of is going to fall short. Now, do I have an issue with Abby winning? No. Would I have had an issue with Anna Hall winning? No. But if I had a vote, which I don't, it wasn't difficult for me to vote for Cameron Rogers. And she could have gone to Stanford. I would have said the same. Like at the end of the day, that level of dominance is just almost impossible to do at the collegiate level. So I don't think they got it right, but I mean, look, it's not the most egregious thing on the planet. I mean, again, nobody's going to ever complain that Abby Steiner won at Bowerman.
No,
not at all.
Okay. Well, speaking of some female sprinters.
You cut off, don't cut off the governor.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. My bad. My bad.
I'll keep it short and sweet as well, because I believe everyone else on this panel pretty much echoed my thoughts, my sentiments. And, you know, this was my first Bowerman, like to actually, and I've been at several conventions and just didn't go. But to sit in there in that room and to have those athletes be appreciated and given their flowers. And I mean, John Anderson was unbelievable. And of course, the ones that can understand the snark and the underhanded comments and all of that, though I turned several times to Clyde to see what he was looking like. And it was just like, he was loving every minute of it, you know, and it was like, keep it coming. But as far as, you know, I understand, and I'm just going to leave it there. I understand why the 2 winners of the Bowerman were picked. I get it. Okay. And, you know, the only thing I could say is that, you know, the Bowerman it's not a technical award. It's not an award that is based on, here are the numbers, here are the facts. It is an award. It is the Heisman, right? And how many times have we watched a Heisman and sat there and going, wait a minute, like, really? And it is what it is. You know, when you have a committee that has to make these decisions, I mean, I don't envy them whatsoever. And I do agree there could have been 4 women. This year was very, very unique, because if you really dug into what female athletes did this year in the NCAA, I'm telling you, it was pretty phenomenal, you know. So but all that being said, I get it, and let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody has much variances to what has been said already. So,
shout out to Athing Mu for the catwalk.
Oh, my
yes.
Bravo.
Phenomenal.
Well done.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Well done.
Yes.
She sold it.
Yes.
Literally
if you're gonna
sold
move to LA, this is what you do.
Yep.
Right, she's ready.
Listen,
So-
everybody there.
Hey, listen, we're not giving LA credit for that. That's the East Coast girl. Give that credit for where she's at.
Everybody who was there.
It has nothing to do with LA. That's all the thing being a thing.
Everybody who was there who's old enough to have seen Boomerang, every single person was like, Strange, Grace Jones. She just did it perfectly.
Yes.
No,
It was perfect.
It was great.
So as you bring up her name, let's speak about her and some others of some recent movement that's been brought to light. There have been a few athletes, male and female, one male, 3 females, who have made a move, and call it, if you would, portal-esque. They have changed coaches, right? Like, yeah, don't even get me started on the portal today. Portal-esque, and who are now being coached by Bobby Kersee. Who of those individuals, Athing Mu, Jenna Prandini, Keni Harrison, Brandon Miller, do we think is going to fare best
There's
from
others.
their location change? But of mention.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it's a thing. It's a grand slam home run. Anybody that knows Bobby Kersee, you shouldn't challenge Bobby. You shouldn't let Bobby know that you're doubting him and talking crap behind his back. And so when people have put it out into the ether for Bobby to either read or have somebody read to him, that it was a dumb move, that she's not going to be successful, that she can't do this, you are guaranteeing something incredibly special. So I want to thank the haters, because you're going to see something special, because that's not the guy to challenge. He will get it figured out. I can promise you he's thinking world record in the 800, and he's probably at some point in time going to have the 2 fastest American women ever in the 400.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it right there.
Go for it.
Yes. I'll just say this one additional piece to everything that Sir Lucius just said. Everybody who's ever been otherworldly successful, as someone like Bobby has been, prays at night for a challenge. Bobby has coached gold medalists in the 4, on the women's side, the 4, the 2, the 1, the 100 hurdles, 400 hurdles. Guess what he hasn't coached a gold medalist in yet? And I think it's laughable that people think that it will not be successful. When, I mean, Bobby got Jackie, who is a severe asthmatic, to run sub 210 in an 800 in a heptathlon. So look, I'm looking forward to this, because this is something none of us have ever seen. Bobby Kersee coaching a half miler professionally. And I know that he is at home like this. And I am at home like this with my popcorn, because I can't wait to see what happens when Athing Mu goes through the first 400 in like 51.8 or some crazy nonsense.
Oh, stop it.
I'm sure it won't really happen, but you know what I'm saying. Like, he's going to take them to a place that nobody wants to go. She's already doing that. She's already taking them places they don't want to go. So yeah, I won't say I don't think it'll be close, but I think the happiest person that Bobby has that they move there is Athing Mu.
Like, so for me, if anyone knows me, I enjoy the story behind the story more than the story. And as to your point, Lamar, I'm looking forward to see how is he going to structure this young lady. And I say that because, for those of us that are, professionals at what we do, I mean, what we've witnessed so far with Athing Mu is we've seen her do it in many different ways. We've seen her run fast, taking it out and sitting in the pack. We've seen her take it out and say, hey, I'm taking you all out into the deep end. If you choose to go with me, so be it. If not, I'm just curious as to how, because anybody that knows Bobby Kersee is that he is very meticulous, and he has a plan, and he will have a plan, much like what we saw with Sydney, and it was a sight to behold when we saw this thing play out, right? And you think about where it started, from running the 60 hurdles indoors, running her off leg, right? We're seeing the plan being put in motion. Okay, you're going to go to New York and you're going to run on your off leg in front of your home fans, right? And you're going to keep doing this until it becomes natural to you, right? And then we're going to take that and we're going to throw that into the 4 hurdles, and we're going to hit hurdle times and split times faster than anyone's ever seen before. And I'm just curious to see how Bobby attacks, because I can't think that there's any other reason why Athing Mu would choose to move to Bobby other than we're going for it. I have won titles. I've done all of these great things. Now I want to make history. So yeah, I mean, that I'm on the same boat. I'm on the Athing Mu boat, and I can't wait to see it.
So I'm not going to disagree with anything that's said, and obviously my choice is also Athing Mu. But I come to that from a slightly different angle and perspective. If the question ultimately is which of the new arrivals, right? Well, all of them are extremely talented. I mean, Keni used to have the world record just not too long ago in her primary event, right? I don't know if we've seen the best of Keni, and if anybody can build on what she already has been, yeah, you bet on Bobby Kersee. I don't know if we've seen the best of Jenna, but where she is in her career and given her age, I'll bet on Bobby Kersee. Brandon Miller is an extremely, nice talent. He's young, obviously. I don't even know what to think about his move out there other than he's in Bobby's hands, so it'll probably go well, right? But the youngest and by far the most gifted is Athing Mu.
Mm-hmm.
And last I checked, she's already the Olympic champion. She's already the world champion. She's already the US record holder. So no matter who you're a fan of or what event you like more, regardless of whatever you think about Bobby Kersee, fan or foe, the obvious choice of who should be the best of this transition should be the unicorn who's already accomplished and conquered the world.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that at the end of this, Athing Mu is going to do something more special and more jaw-dropping than what David Rudisha did with the men's 800. I can't wait to see it. And if you're familiar with LA or understand, the West Coast and the pitfalls that are off the track, then you might think that the youngest in the group is going to be the most susceptible
Mm-hmm.
to what I call LA culture,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a thing, and LA culture has ruined many athletes and many college kids and many things. But if you've ever met this young lady, if you've ever actually had a conversation with her, I was lucky enough to spend a few days hanging out and talking with her mother in Orlando at the Olympic experience that NBC had put on. That young lady, I don't care what her age is, mentally, she is years beyond what her age says she is. And I have no worry about LA culture ruining her career. And if anything, and like I said, if you're at the Bowerman, don't think for 1 second that part of this move wasn't also business off the track. I think she's going to thrive in all areas. And I hope that her and Sid become the poster children of this sport, and their names and images and likenesses are plastered all over billboards and television, because they are that good, and that's exactly what they deserve. And if anybody can step into that pressure and own it, I'll bet my money on Athing Mu.
Got it. Sorry about that. We had a light flicker. It was a little scary. Um, no, leave it there. Athing Mu. We're going to see the fruits come from that first. And I don't think many else will disagree. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and everything, and how everyone in that group will fare. So, kind of leading off of that female-led topic, coming off that female-led topic, after the World Championships, do we think the American women will hold their own against the Jamaican women? So this is coming from different aspects, talking about different points, but we saw a reference to this in social media today, or not today, this week, I'm sorry. How do we feel about that statement?
I think the governor has to go first on that.
So up until that post was made on World Athletics, I honestly thought the USA women had won that battle. And it's not something that is talked about particularly. This is not NCAA's. This is not a team title or anything like that. But it does speak volumes that after what we witnessed with the women's throws, the U.S. women's throws, the breakthroughs and the jumps, that the Jamaican women were so dominant in the 100, the 200, the hurdles, the 4x1, the 4x4, that actually overcame any of the gains that the U.S. women made in the throwing in the field events. So all that being said, I think the future is bright for U.S. women. I think outside of a few athletes that are retiring and moving on with their careers, we're entering, I think, a golden age for the U.S. women. And the challenge and the moves that were made, speaking of what just happened with Athing and company, I think the challenge is clear that the U.S. women are going to have to fight and claw and scratch in the sprint events and the hurdle events, and they have the talent. I don't think there's ever been a question of how much talent the U.S. women possess, but there at some point there has to be some moxie, to step into that ring and go up against some of the greatest sprinters that we've ever seen in the history of the sport. So it's an exciting time. I feel like the U.S. women has what it takes. And I can't wait to see I've got my popcorn ready for that too.
I'm just going to back that up and say, I think that, there was like a 1 point difference in podium places, points.
Yes.
The Jamaican coming on top. And obviously the lacking was in the 1, the 2, and the 4.
Yep.
So I think the question begs to, what do we do to get better in those areas? And it comes down to, I think, better planning, better coaching, better whatever it takes, because we're not close to them in those areas right now. I don't think we're far behind them in the 4, but we're nowhere near at the championship level anyway, where they are in the 1 and the 2.
Sir Lucius, would you say it starts with the 4? Do you think the weakest area, the area that could be attacked, is the 400?
Well, I think that it's all 3 of them when you stop and think about it, because we didn't perform well in any of those. I think that we were competent in the 2, but we were totally incompetent in the other ones. And I think that for me, you look at the U.S. list and you have 3 or 4 girls that run under 10.9, but yet we don't have a medalist. You know, we're not even close to a medal. I just say that, you know, the one, we better realize 10.8 is not fast anymore, right? And 2, we better realize that if you can't run 10.70 something at the championship, you're not going to medal. And you got to be able to run 10.80 or better at the championships to medal, not just to get there. So I think that the key here for me is better planning with training as far as being at our best when it counts the most, and stepping up our game and understand that we, even though we have some bright young stars, man, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Fugazi time trialing will not get us a medal.
Okay. All right. That's too good. I'm definitely jumping in.
That was exceptional John Stockton-ness.
Right. Which is why you get to dunk later. I'm going to interfere first. I don't appreciate the question, the way it is phrased, because say the words again, Chu.
It's amazing you don't appreciate the question, because the question is petty as hell.
Yes, no. I appreciate the pettiness of it. I don't appreciate the way it is phrased.
Okay, the question is, after the performance at this year's World Championships,
right,
do we think the American women will hold their own against the Jamaican women moving forward?
And so hold their own is a very interesting, very American elitist way to ask that question, because it's almost like if we're not dominating the world, then all of a sudden we're not holding our own. If you look at it mathematically, we lost by 1 point.
But the question wasn't related to the 1 point loss.
I understand that, and I understand
to the 1, the 2, and the 4, where you couldn't understand.
I absolutely understand, sir.
Because
you haven't let me get around the block yet.
Well, then don't go around the block.
Oh, I'm definitely going around the block.
About the question.
I'm definitely going around.
Can we hold our own against them in the 1, the 2, and the 4? And we absolutely not even close.
Well,
so what's the least about getting your butt kicked every year? I don't know, but I'm gonna let you go.
Listen, I'm definitely going around the block.
I know.
We are
go around
most definitely holding our own as it pertains to what was referenced already, as far as which team is putting out better results. When it comes to the sprints and short hurdles, and I'm going to focus primarily on the 100 because that's probably the spirit in which whoever posed that question is coming from. Here's the problem.
Okay, I want to push the pause button for 1 second. Sorry, you put your little girl face on, right? The question pertains to the 1, the 2, and the 4. You can't tell the person asking the question what the question pertains to. It's not your question, it's theirs.
Well, they didn't make that clear, sir. Hence why I am making
it clear now.
But I didn't need that because I already said I'm going to focus on the 100.
Because no, you said you're going to focus on the 100 because that's what they were pertaining to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you said.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Am I allowed to finish?
You can finish it. Just don't put words on people's mouths. Don't take for other people. Just say what you have to say, please.
I'm trying.
No, you're not. You're trying to put words on people's mouths. You can make the little girl face all you want. Don't bother me.
I'm sure it does.
Say what you have to say. But
I just want to know when you're done, so I can be done.
Okay, I am done as long as you don't try to change the question to make it fit what you want.
I didn't change it.
So go ahead.
All right. Now, anyway, like I said, I'm going to focus on the 100 for now. We are absolutely holding our own. We talk about on this show often the realities of birthdays and keeping this conversation clean, pun intended. Right now, Shelly Ann and Elaine Thompson have, whichever way you want to slice it, established themselves as the GOAT and the other GOAT of women's 100-meter racing. They are elite. They have been in their primes for a very long time, and the best that we have as Americans are literally rookies. So I don't know in what world anybody expects rookies to be able to step in and unseat the GOATs. That doesn't happen in any sport. It damn sure is not about to happen right now. So Melissa Jefferson, TT Terry, whoever it is you want to talk about, they're phenomenal talents. They are developing well as of this moment. And I only expect them to get better. They're in the finals they're supposed to be in. And holding their own is a very curious term. Abby Steiner, etc. When put together, we beat them in relay. So they're more than capable of, quote, holding their own. I think it's just a matter of, do I see Shelly Ann losing to an American before she hangs up the spikes in a world championship or an Olympics? No. Do I see Elaine taking that L? Probably not. So ultimately, this becomes a story about Shericka Jackson, who's the youngest of the group. And do we think that the Americans can ultimately challenge her? I believe that they can in the 100. Not sure about the deuce. I don't think, we have anybody that is at her talent level in the deuce that can ultimately push where she's going to take that event. But I think we're very close to the end of the sweeps happening because Shelly and Elaine can't run forever, especially Shelly. So I think it's an accident of timing more than an issue of, development or who we have. I very much like our young crop, with one exception. They've all shown that they can get it done under bright lights and rise to the pressure of the world stage. And so as long as those people continue to be coached well and continue to do the right things, I think we'll end up with a medal in the next couple cycles, world champs, Olympics, whatever. But unseating the GOATs, highly unlikely.
I would just, the only retort I have for you to that one, sir, is, have we had a medalist since Carmelita Jeter in 2012? We have not.
So now we're changing the question to go back.
No. Hold on a second. Nope. See, I'm not gonna let you do that. My question is, it's a very simple one. Have we had a medalist since 2012?
No.
I don't believe we have. So history shows.
Well, actually, yes, we have.
Who was
it? What's her name? Florida. London 17, and Olympic 16. Tori Bowie. Tori Bowie got medals in both those world championships.
Okay. So in the last 10 years, we've had one person medal. History doesn't show that the development that you speak of is going to happen. I hope it does.
The new rookies are in the hands of different people.
I hope it does, but history does not bode well for the U.S.
And I agree with you.
And Jamaica, and then just the World Juniors, as the EP loves to say, is a great indicator of the future of the sport. Jamaica just went 1-2 at the World Juniors in the 100.
Yep, all fair. The best of our youth are not in the hands of situations, so we'll see.
Well, I'm not going to change the question. I'm going to answer my own damn question.
Make sure you interrupt him.
Because the question in particular strikes me. Listen, I mean, if you watch this show, I am a field event. I'm a field and track guy, right? So at the end of the day, I went back and looked at the scores and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, they did score one more point than we did. And I like how they did it because they did a much better job at their typical strengths than we did. Mm-hmm. But what I find interesting is, I think if you ask anybody going into this year's World Championships, should we have scored in these events? The answer would be yes. 1500 steeplechase, women's high jump, women's 100 hurdles. And we didn't score in any of those, right? So if we score in any of those, this question isn't even asked.
No, apparently this question isn't about that. Well, I just got cussed out by that.
Listen, we're not doing that.
First of all, now,
look, this is my chance to talk.
Please stop, because I ain't cussed nobody yet.
Gentlemen, all I'm saying
hey, look, hold on. If you're gonna take shots at me, I'm over there. I ain't cussed nobody out yet. And all I was doing is trying to educate you. Your reading and listening are fundamental skills in this world. Okay, I read the question.
The EP.
Okay, EP ain't the problem. You're the guy. You're the heckler in the back.
So, as I was trying to say, look, I think that the thought of us not having the greatest track and field nation is laughable, right? Because I think in the next two, so the World Championships and the Olympics, I think on the women's side, we will probably be relatively dominant, because I don't think that the women's throwers are going anywhere. I do think somebody like Jasmine Moore and somebody like Tori Franklin are going to push forward and battle for medals. And like I said, the 1500 steeplechase, high jump, and 100 hurdles, we've medaled in those before, and full on expect for us to medal in most, if not all of those again. I think almost all of our performances from World Championships are repeatable. Now, directly to the specificity of the implied portion of this question, which is, because look, at the end of the day, Jamaica is only going to compete against us in the sprints, right? Like, they're not having this conversation about like, we're a better track nation, track meaning track and field, like we're a better sprint nation. And I think going forward, like at the end of the day, if you're a prospector, right, their top end talent is better than ours, but their top end talent is substantially older. The question is going to be very simple. Will Melissa Jefferson and TT Terry and Gabby and Abby push their way into the medals before the two Jamaican juniors we just saw get seasoned enough, right? So like we have the women in the gap between the GOATs and the youngins.
Yeah, that is the point, and that is the point that has to be belabored. We're talking about the greatest generation of Jamaican sprinters in their history.
Yes.
I mean, you take Merlene out of the equation. Merlene doesn't line up with these young ladies and beat them. This is the greatest group of Jamaican sprinters we've ever seen.
I would just like to remind you guys that the question is, will we hold our own moving forward?
Yeah, and I was attempting to answer the question.
Moving forward?
I firmly believe that it all comes down to, I won't say this year, but in a lot of ways this year, because we start the super cycle, right? We start the natural world championship, Olympic world championship, right? We start that. So like everything that's happened before this, like now we're not dealing with COVID. This is when we were supposed to be worlds, Olympics, worlds. And at the end of the day, it comes down to whether the people I named, because look, others may become pretenders to the throne. And if they do, great. You know, if the Leah Hobbses and others of the world who've also run very fast show the ability to make a final, then I'll talk about them too. But the group that I just mentioned, they have to go about their work this year feeling as if it's a medal or nothing. If they can do that and push forward and can make that happen, then I'll say we'll do more than hold our own. But at the end of the day, we have a small window, right? The two youngins from Jamaica are going to struggle to get high-level international competition because of the three GOATs in front of them. So we have to, while we have this gap between them and them, we have to figure out if we can get in that gap and make a difference. My guess is yes, but I know this, that window ain't open wide. We got about 2 years for that group that I mentioned to make themselves more than sort of relevant. We got about 2 years for them to be legitimate, you know, to be like Talou. Everybody knows Talou's going to be in the final and she's going to be in the frame. She hasn't been third yet, right? But she's in the frame. So we got about 1.5 years, 2 years at most to get that crew in the frame.
Yes, because the babies will arrive by LA. Yeah. I don't think they arrive by Paris, but they're going to arrive by LA.
All right. So, not relative to the question prior, please. Delineation has been made. Where do we think we are in regards to the war on drugs? Aside from losing, can we get to a good place? If so, how? I now understand that part. Well, no, just losing to the drugs.
No,
Aside
I'm
from just
asking that. Does everyone here legitimately think we're losing the war on drugs right now?
Can I go first on this one? So losing is obviously a very interesting phraseology, right? Like, I don't know how you win, quote unquote, a war on track and field drugs other than the sport is completely clean. So then every time somebody gets busted or somebody, removes themselves from the fray via whereabouts, I guess in theory, we're making the sport cleaner. So in that regard, I don't think we are losing. We are eliminating drug cheats, no question about it. I don't know if we're eliminating them all by any means. And I think that's where the losing terminology comes about. But at the end of the day, to me, the answer to this question is very simple. We never make real advancements in catching drug cheats because the doctors and chemists on the side of right are behind the doctors and chemists on the side of wrong. Right? Like everybody who is testing positive and getting banned and such in the last Olympiad, they're testing positive for things that 2 Olympiads before they could very well have been on and we never would have busted them. Right? So like as soon as the good side figures out that this helps athletes, the people who are in that realm to cheat have moved on to the next thing. Because the best way, if you're going to be a drug cheat, the best way to do it is use things that aren't being tested for, right? Like human growth hormone, like ruled the sport for more than a decade because there wasn't a test for it. We weren't doing blood testing. EPO ruled the sport for the better part of a decade for the same reason. And so, look, I would love to be naive enough to think like, yeah, we're catching more drug cheats, but at the end of the day, like we're still catching people who are doing things like stanozolol. Like, dude, come on. Like that's Ben Johnson. That's in the 80s, right? Clenbuterol. So at the end of the day, like I would love to believe that we were progressing because we are, but I think the only way to like truly run a clean sport is like you'd have to have the best chemists and the best. You probably need a snitch. Like you probably need a drug cheat to decode some things for the doctors on the good side so that you knew what next to test for, because that's where it's coming from.
There are layers here, layers that we will never see and never understand.
That's a fact.
I don't know how you ever win a war when you don't know who you're fighting.
Yeah.
It's impossible to win that war. I'm not sure how you ever win a war when the weapons are constantly changing. And I don't know how you ever win a war when I don't think the war really wants to be won. Right.
That part right there, sir.
That's the problem. And so at the end of the day, until the powers that be put rules in place to make the drugs cheat stop cheating, there's more uproar about where people missing tests than we ever hear about people that fail one. Mm-hmm. And we're still talking about now people that failed tests back in 2012 and 20 this. And at the end of the day, again, just simple for me. I don't know how you win a war that I'm not sure that wants to be won.
So I have 2 scenarios that that pretty much accurately describe the situation. Well, one scenario that accurately describes the situation we're in. So said drug cheat goes out, wins a whole bunch of medals, has a 2, 3, 4 year span where they are on top of their game. They get hurt, whatever it is, They get a phone call, whatever, and then they quit, and then they move on, right? So they've won the accolades, they've gotten the sponsorship, they've gotten all of these great things. They're riding high, okay? They move on, and 10 years later, they get a phone call that what they were using back then has been found and they're now caught. So now you're talking about 5-10 years after the fact. And the person that was second or third or whatever is now elevated, right? And that person is rightly given the medal because of said drug cheat. Now, if that is winning, if that is what, our current world athletics feels like winning, then I'm sure Lucinda Demas has some words for you, okay? And they're probably not some very nice words, but this is where we're at, okay? And the whole point of keeping blood samples and all of that stuff is to make sure and to follow up and to follow up again and to follow up again. And at the end of the day, yes, it might, it's way after the fact. But hey, look, we caught him. Okay. Now, I will also say this. I remember when I was doing my master's in sports management, drug cheating was brought up. And the idea was floated that the reason why the NFL, NHL, major leagues took all drugs and put them in the substance abuse policy, right? And just kind of labeled it that in order to move on with the season, with whatever, is because their standpoint and their approach to the fans and all of that was, this is not going to derail our season. We're going to keep things moving. So whether it's an antihistamine or it's stanozolol or whatever it is, you violated a league policy. Here's your punishment. Let's move on. And that's what we're seeing on that end, right? And they consider themselves a professional sport. Okay. On the other hand, world athletics is still in a situation where we are going to get to the root of the problem, even though it's 10, 15 years down the road. And when it does happen, hey, it's going to be big news and this and this and that. And we're going to knock on Lucinda Demas's door and we're going to hand her that medal that she earned 15 years ago. And that's the part that they might consider winning, but it certainly has a stink to it, in my opinion. And I don't know that there's any fix to this. I don't think there's any fix to this because, as Lamar put it very succinctly, the people that are trying to catch the drug cheaters are literally sitting there waiting for a sample. They're literally waiting for an anomaly, right? And God bless them, there's some patient people, because it's not something that just pops up on your computer every day, right? So it's, in my opinion, we are not winning the war. And I don't think there's any way to win the war.
I will vehemently disagree respectfully with the governor. I think you absolutely can win the war. I agree with Sir Lucius that right now, I don't think anybody's really trying to win the war. I think it's more of an attitude of, we want to look like we're fighting it well. And, you know, I will say this, I think given the context of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, I think and I hope that the sport is cleaner now than it's ever been. I actually do believe that to be true. But I don't think that anyone that matters is actually really, really serious about eliminating, to whatever degree you can, the issue of doping in our sport. If you want to do it, here's how you do it. Number one, you make the punishment so severe that people actually have to consider if they want to go down that route. Because let's be real, those that have the moral compass that will allow them to defraud the sport, they don't really care about these 2-year, 4-year bans. They're gonna get their money anyway. There has to be restitution. There has to be a way for athlete X, Y, and Z who were defrauded out of their medals to be able to sue. There has to be financial compensation for being caught. There has to be financial repercussions for missing your whereabouts. When you start affecting people's pockets, then you can get to a place where you are starting to take it as seriously as it needs to. I have always been a fan of lifetime bans.
Lifetime ban is the
I don't want to hear all this middle round shit. If you get caught positive with illegal substances in your system, you should have to go find another profession. Period. End of story. I don't really care about the excuses. If we go to lifetime bans and financial restitution, I think you eliminate 99% of people that even consider doing this.
Yeah, 100%, right? Because if Lashinda could sue, I forgot her name,
Anchuk.
Right? If she could sue Anchuk for lost wages, oh, that's a whole nother animal.
And in the case of that particular case, which made some new news this week, that's the Russian doping scandal. That's state sponsored. So right. If we can sue the federation,
right?
Oh yeah, like hey, if you want to play the Olympic World Championship game, federations, you're going to be held financially responsible for the shenanigans your athletes are doing. Oh, I think everybody would get real serious about doping control, country to country, place to place, right? So until people are willing to go that route, I'm never going to be the one to believe that everybody really, really, really cares about this issue. I think it's an issue that people know better than to act like it's cool. And so right now, everybody acts like they're trying to do as best as they can. But we all know that they don't have the stomach to really go where they need to go. So I think it is solvable. I don't think we're on that path. But I do think we've made tremendous strides, and I do think it's cleaner today than it has been. But Lamar is absolutely correct that those that wish to cheat, those that wish to defraud the sport, and the medical, chemical professionals that help them, they're always going to be ahead of the testers. By nature, that is the way it is, and has always been.
Well, let me speak to one thing really quick. You said and you believe firmly that the sport is cleaner now. And here's what I'm going to tell you. And the governor will completely agree with me on this one. When we competed in the 90s, we were 100% sure we were competing in a cleaner generation than the 80s, and everybody competed in a cleaner generation than the 70s. But look, here's the funny part. The 70s, if you really think about it, the drugs weren't illegal, right? Mm-hmm. So really and truly, like they were just doing what they could do.
Right.
But we all were 100% sure that competing in the 90s, it was a much cleaner situation than it was in the 80s. And then you know what we found out, like right at the end of our careers?
Oh my goodness.
The human growth hormone and EPO were things that people had been taking the entire time we were competing, and we had no idea.
No idea.
And so what I'm telling you now is like, look, I want to believe that the sport is cleaner too. But when we find out in 2010 that everybody's been taking rocket fuel of some sort that we didn't know about, right? Like, listen, until we get drug cheat level doctors on the clean side, the sport is going to operate where it is. Those who have the means and the moral compass to cheat are going to cheat.
And I will end on this. As long as there is a thirst for unbelievable performances, okay? And let's be clear. What we witnessed in 2003 in Paris was a derivative of oh hell, when there was an announcement made prior to that race, prior to those championships, by the French Drug Testing Federation, or whatever you want to call it, WADA, whatever. And it scared the bejesus out of a fair number of people. Let's just say that, okay? And if you look at the results of the men's 100, all right, that was not an aberration. That was not weather. That was not the track, okay? Something happened that led to that, okay? And, you know, that was one of the first times that we ever witnessed the world athletics putting something out there that might have tipped off people that, you know what, hold up now. We gotta fix something here. And if you think about the scandals that touched off after Paris, or right in or in 2003, it's pretty amazing. Now, do we have to wait another 20 years for that to happen again? I mean, have we witnessed anything like that since? No, we haven't. Like, I'm talking about results going from way high to here again, okay? So it's something that, you know, call me jaded, call me, you know, I mean, having been through it, having lived through it, yeah, I'm not one that thinks that anything is going to change anytime soon.
All right, well, only time she'll tell us. We really won't know. So, all right, closing out the topics, moving on to Would You Rather. Sir Lucius, it's your turn this week.
Oh my.
Oh, see, that was perfect, because he always knows whose turn it is, and he was legitimately surprised this time.
I checked it like 4 times to make sure, because I sincerely was like, I gotta get this right.
Here we go.
Okay. Would you rather prefer your Christmas drink or your holiday drink to be hot chocolate or eggnog?
Eggnog.
Would you rather would you rather consume candy canes or peppermint bark?
Bark.
Good
Peppermint bark.
choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Would you rather have your holiday vacations to be in warmer weather or cooler weather?
Warmer. Look, I'm Ohio born, bred, blood. Florida weather, please.
Would you rather open presents on Christmas Eve or on Christmas morning?
One on Christmas Eve, the rest on Christmas morning.
Ah, got it.
And it has to be just a random one. Like, you just pick one random one on Christmas Eve, the rest of them Christmas morning. Little teaser, and I'll take your butt to bed and dream about what you might have.
Right. Don't lose it before it happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Would you rather watch Die Hard or A Christmas Story for your Christmas movie?
Oh, Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
Would you rather do your Christmas tradition, whatever it might be, tree, caroling, whatever it is, fully dressed to the T or in your PJs?
Oh, okay.
PJs.
Oh, dang. Lamar said, okay, I'm out. No. So I know there are many. This is so being of an immigrant family. I didn't know that was a thing. Like I thought people always got dressed up because it was a holiday occasion, and then to learn that some traditions were done in like their Christmas PJs, I was mind blown, completely mind blown. So anyhow, that was my would you rather. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Would you rather eliminate Christmas or Thanksgiving?
I want them both. I can't make a choice.
Pick one, man. Pick one.
Pick one. What you mean?
No.
Okay, 1A and 1B. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. That's horrible. I can't do that. Now, no, I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
Just trying to get there. And
You got to come up with something else, Clyde. I can't do that one.
I could have made it easy on you and threw in Halloween. I knew you'd pick Halloween.
But it's either one or the other, but like I can't. Wow.
All right, well, I have to come back
bro.
with a second one. I was waiting on that one. That was a good one.
Governor or Lamar?
I mean, I kind of know the answer to this, but I'm curious. Would you rather spend the holidays with your family or with 3 of your favorite celebrities?
You guys are terrible tonight. Of course, I want to be with my family. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Huh, Angela?
See,
That's
Chew, you
who I
have
want to
rubbed-
be with.
You have clearly rubbed off on these people.
All right, sir. Now you focused.
Yeah.
You are in a Spades tournament to save the free world.
Oh my God.
Who is your partner? Martin Luther King or Barack Obama?
Yeesh.
That's an easy question, actually.
I'm going with Obama.
There you go.
I'm going with Barack Obama.
That's right.
There you go.
So something just tells me that being that he hung out in Chi-Town,
Yep.
he got my back. He got my back.
Oh, you don't think the guy has spent most of his life in Alabama and Georgia? But I like the
I don't
answer.
think he's. I just don't think he spent very much time playing Spades.
Mr. EP, as we have experienced over the past however many years, Southerners struggle with Spades.
Yeah.
Wow. Saying. Okay. Well, I'm going to throw the question to Sir Lucius, which is a slightly different context. I get why it was asked to me, but I'm going to ask it to him from the convention. Mr. King of all thrones, which title outdoors would you prefer to defend? The men or the women?
Well, I want to first begin by saying we have nothing to defend. It's ours and it can't be taken away from us. So therefore, there's no defending. So I would like to win them both because I'm greedy and I think we're capable of winning them both.
Of course,
So that's
we
my
know.
answer. But I would absolutely think winning the women's title would be more important for our legacy. So that's the one I would like to win.
There you go.
Very nice. All right. Well, somewhat shallow, as painful. Would you rather this with the
It's
speaker
the
round?
holiday seasons, we have to.
I was trying to know how to figure out a word that.
It's a holiday
So-
season. We have to be giving.
The episode before what most of us celebrate, not most of us on the tiles celebrate is Christmas. Let's end the show with our heartbeat props. Just giving some shout outs and props and flowers, whatnot, to those who are here to receive them. Go ahead.
I'll go first since mine was referenced earlier in the show. My heartbeat props go out to the one and only Lashinda Demas, former teammate of mine, Gamecocks. And, just one of the best people that I've known throughout my time in this sport. It was recently announced that Lashinda is going to get her well-deserved Olympic gold medal from London 2012, where she lost the 400-meter hurdles race to a doped-up Russian. This is it. As happy as I am for Shin finally getting the recognition that she deserves, you have to understand how horrifically screwed up this is. Before there was Sydney McLaughlin, it was Lashinda Demas.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that loss landed a narrative about her and her career that was just unfair. She lost money. She lost sponsorships, I'm sure. She lost a gold medal. She lost her Olympic moment, and ultimately has been remembered incorrectly for how amazing she was in this sport and her time in it. And there's no fake ceremony that they're going to invent in Paris that's going to make up for that. There's giving her the medal 11 years later, rightfully so, but it's some bullshit. And when you come across these situations, it is, in my opinion, the responsibility of world athletics and the governing bodies to honor these people in a way that actually means something. Because handing her a medal 11 years later don't mean nothing. You owe this woman money. You owe this woman so many things. And the fact of the matter is, she's never, I remember the fire, the heat that Lashinda had to take when she quote unquote lost that race. Go look at it. I watched it again today. She executed that thing brilliantly. Brilliantly. And no one will ever remember that she did, even when you give her the new gold medal, right? It's so wrong on so many levels, but I'm glad that it is being corrected in some way. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. And so many people have had to go through this over the years. We have to find a way to make these people whole. There has to be some kind of financial, reparations for being cheated. This woman found a way to literally conquer the world and has never been properly honored for it and never got to capitalize on it. So, a standalone medal ceremony in Paris ain't gonna be enough. And so, Shin, I love you. You were the greatest talent that event has ever seen until Sydney came along. And I just wish that your career would be remembered for what it absolutely was. You were the best. You were the best of your era. You were the best of your time. And I really, really wish that people would remember Lashinda Demas and those who have suffered these wrongs that way, because they deserve it. They deserve nothing less.
I'm going to jump in there just because I want to piggyback on that one piece really fast. That's not my heartbeat pause, but I just want to say this. This is the part that nobody gets. You can give someone a medal that they deserve years later. You could even give them the money that they lost, but you can't ever make them whole because you can't fix the moments. You can't fix the videos and you can't fix the pictures. I think about this every single time. Every single time this happens to somebody, I think to myself, there are pictures in this house of me on a medal stand. And if I had gotten fourth and then was later elevated to the bronze medal, there will be no pictures of that moment. And you can't recreate that, right? You can't recreate the feeling that happens that day right then. And to have a victory feeling stolen away and replaced by a loss, because of course in the United States, second place is the first loser, right? That's irreplaceable, and it's irreprehensible, and it's just Yeah, I got nothing.
I mean, London did a great job covering that meet, you know, visually, media wise. You can go on YouTube right now and watch the 8-minute video start to finish, from the announcements to the whole thing. Look at Lashinda's face.
Yeah.
When she lost, quote unquote, that race.
Well, you've heard me say this a bunch of times. Like,
man,
the happiest person on the podium is the gold medalist. The second happiest person is the bronze medalist, because the silver medalist always feels like they lost. It's just how it goes. My heartbeat props are to my little sis. Like, she's not really little anymore. She's a grown woman, but today's her birthday. So Miss Corlin Gary, happy birthday. She will actually watch this show because I'll send it to her. And she's doing her thug thizzle in the film industry in New York, and I'm super duper proud of her. So that's it for me for tonight.
So my heartbeat props go out to Jordan Crooks. Jordan Crooks is from the Cayman Islands. He's a sophomore swimmer at the University of Tennessee. And he recently won the first World Championship gold medal for the Cayman Islands.
Wow.
In the
Let's
50
go.
free.
Wow, congratulations.
Let's go.
I mean, I have no words. And it's funny because a reporter called me this morning asking me for my thoughts. And one of the questions was, well, how do you feel about your mantle being taken as the most successful? And I'm sitting there on the phone and I'm just like,
you're like, did Clyde feed him this question?
And, you know, I paused for a second and I said, look, the whole point is that someone would pick up the mantle. That's the whole point.
That's the point.
I set the standard. And so for these young athletes that are coming up through the ranks, you know what you have to do, right? And so kudos to this young man. I've never met him, but I'm certainly trying to get a hold of him so I can congratulate him on the phone and talk to him and get a chance to meet him. But yeah, he did that. He went to the World Championships and he won a gold medal, the first ever for my island nation. Heartbeat props to Jordan Crooks.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jordan. My heartbeat props is going to go out to, and I've been doing this a lot over the last 6 months. I'm going to do it again. Pay attention to mental health, folks. A lot of people out there struggling. We hear more and more stories every week about people that are struggling and, that have no one that don't feel like they have no one to turn to. I have lost some people that are part of my life over the last 3 or 4 months due to some issues. And I can't begin to tell you how hard it is to listen to their families talk about how they really didn't know. And so I'm just asking everybody to pay attention. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to, lend a shoulder, lend an ear. And, my mantra for a long time has been, the key is to let folks lean on you so they don't fall, not wait till they fall to attempt to pick them up.
Good words. Though more lighthearted than those. It's my little brother's birthday today, so he's my heartbeat props. So happy birthday, Ryan. You'll never see the show, and that's okay too. But I'm doing my part as big sister. The athlete stops after 2. After that, there was other interests. So, but happy birthday to you. I can't even recall how old you are, but you're way older than you are in my head. So hope you had a good day. But other than that, that wraps up season 3, episode 36. I guess we can call it 37 if you count the lost one. So it's been a minute. I mean, that's just over 3.5 years. So that's crazy. So thank you everyone once again, or 3.5 seasons, sorry. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great holiday weekend. And if your holiday's a little bit after that, keep celebrating. you got time. So talk to you all soon. Have a good night. Bye.
When the lights come on, the road just get to running. When the lights come on, opponents smash the plumbing. Heard you like it warm, hot, knife the butter. Truth pin them hard, knock them off that rebuttal. Tsunami, tidal wave to your puddle. Tough love punch you in the arms, little brothers. Athletics LLC, there's no others. Track and field's place to appeal to go further. Hey, Wally, Coyote is road runners. Feels like you know us, you've been with us the whole summer. If not for this quarantine, these four corners wouldn't be here, but we here, so start learning. You gotta earn your stripes, gotta get your scars. Show you how to fight, but show us who you are. You lack experience, but still you wanna talk. And who is actually talking to? Your circle's kinda small. Heads prevail when the backbone's strong. Gotta keep it coming, no, it won't last long. Pass and fail, then sell the sad song. And if you don't check yourself, then that's wrong. Just trying to give you the real that you asked for. So why you keep cutting us off to ask more? We put it in slow-mo, but you fast forward. Athletics LLC, the task force.